This is the story of one of the most frustrating builds for Matt Armstrong, a Ferrari 296 GTB that simply refuses to start. A car that has already swallowed enormous amounts of time, money, and energy, and keeps asking for more. To understand where things stand, you need to know what this car actually is, or rather, what it's been turned into. Matt purchased the 296 as a crash-damaged vehicle and rebuilt it from the ground up. But he didn't stop at a standard restoration. He fitted it with a full Ferrari 296 Challenge kit, the race-spec body and component package that transforms a road car into something far more aggressive. The problem is that Ferrari themselves refuse to touch it in that state. Until it's been through an approved body shop, the dealership won't even roll it through the door. And even after the body repairs were completed, the car still won't start. The working theory centers on the hybrid battery. The 296 GTB relies on its hybrid system to start the car. Without it, there's nothing. And just like the Lamborghini Revuelto that came before it on the channel, it appears that when the airbags deployed in the original crash, the battery essentially condemned itself. It entered a state it can't recover from on its own. A brand new Ferrari lithium-ion hybrid battery costs £18,000. And even if you buy one, it needs to be coded to the car, a process that only Ferrari's own diagnostic equipment can complete. It's a situation that puts Matt in an almost impossible position. But before any of that could be addressed, there was another problem to solve first, one that had been holding back even the mechanical reassembly of the car. The Ferrari 296 Challenge kit wasn't designed to drop straight into a road car. The race version has a different front-end layout, and the radiators are positioned in a completely different location to make room for the aerodynamic package. On a standard 296, there's storage space beneath the front bonnet. On the Challenge car, that space is occupied by a large water radiator. Fitting race radiators into a road car shell meant fabricating entirely new mounting points, something that required calling in a specialist fabricator named Bob. Bob spent considerable time building custom brackets to house not only the main water radiator but also the air conditioning condensers, which had to be relocated as part of the same process. With those brackets now finished, the team could finally begin mounting everything properly. The main water radiator, a large, single-unit piece roughly equivalent in size to the two original radiators combined, went in first. Coolant feed, return, and overflow lines were connected without major issues. Then the car went up on the ramp so the AC condensers could be bolted to either side of the main radiator using Bob's custom mounts. On paper, the routing made sense. In practice, it was considerably more difficult. The air conditioning lines on the 296 are almost entirely rigid aluminum. They don't flex or reroute easily. A rubber hose conversion kit had been purchased to add flexibility into the system, but that alone wasn't enough. Several sections needed to be cut, repositioned, and welded together to create new runs that matched the relocated condenser positions. Bob was called back to handle the welding, and with two key joints completed, the AC system was at least mocked up well enough to move forward. It wouldn't be fully functional yet, meaning the front bumper couldn't go back on, but it wouldn't prevent the car from attempting to start. That was the priority. With the fabrication work at a stage where it could be paused, attention turned to the main event, replacing the hybrid battery. The evidence pointing toward the battery as the core problem was compelling. When the battery management module, essentially the brain of the high-voltage system, was disconnected, the hazard lights that had been flashing constantly went off, and the 12-volt battery would actually charge. The moment the module was reconnected, everything stopped working again. That pointed firmly at the battery being the source of the fault. At £18,000, the new battery represented a serious financial gamble. There was no guarantee it would solve the problem. But at this stage in the build, with every other avenue explored, it was the only logical next step. Replacing the battery is actually less complicated than the price tag might suggest. The hybrid battery on the 296 sits just behind the rear seats, a more compact location than on the Lamborghini Revuelto, where it runs almost the full length of the car. The process involves disconnecting the main orange high-voltage cables, the battery management module, the cooling lines, the ground wires, and a handful of sensors including a TPMS module and temperature sensors. A boomerang-shaped structural brace also needed to come out to allow the battery to drop free. With the battery resting on a toolbox lowered on the ramp, 2 bolts accessed from inside the cabin were the final step. The old battery came out. The new one went in. Everything was reconnected in reverse. With the new battery installed and everything reconnected, the team hoped for a clean result. They didn't get one. When the 12-volt battery was connected, the hazard lights came straight back on. The dashboard displayed a battery thermal runaway warning, a message telling the occupants to stop the vehicle and get out immediately. Progress of a kind was made when coolant was added to both the engine and battery cooling circuits, which had been empty during the initial attempt. After that, the ignition came on for the first time, a genuine first in the entire build. But the thermal runaway warning persisted, the ignition couldn't be turned off conventionally, and the car refused to crank. Plugging in a diagnostic reader returned fault codes exclusively related to the battery temperature sensors. Physical checks of the wiring to those sensors showed no problems. Continuity was good, connections were solid. The issue appeared to lie deeper inside the system, possibly within the battery's internal sensors, or more likely in the fact that the new battery had never been coded to this specific car. That coding process requires Ferrari's own proprietary diagnostic tool, a piece of software referred to internally as Leonardo. To purchase it independently would cost somewhere between £20,000 and £30,000. And even then, certain functions within it require direct authorization from Ferrari before they'll execute. It is entirely possible that buying the tool would still leave Matt no further forward without Ferrari's cooperation. Taking the car to Ferrari directly remains an option, but a complicated one. The dealership has confirmed they'll work on it, but only once it's fully complete. Air conditioning functional, under tray fitted, all trim in place. There's still significant work to do before that point. And the moment a Ferrari technician opens the bonnet and sees field-repaired wiring, plugs that couldn't be sourced separately and so were sealed with Tiger Seal and electrical tape, the conversation will almost certainly turn toward a full wiring loom replacement. That's a job that requires stripping the car back to a bare shell. The cost could easily match the estimate for the diagnostic tool. The Ferrari 296 has now defeated virtually every approach thrown at it. The new hybrid battery has made some progress. The ignition comes on, the hazards can now be cleared, the car is at least communicating. But it won't start. It's stuck in a logistic transport mode that requires a security access code to disengage, and that code sits behind Ferrari's proprietary system. The total spent on this car continues to climb. The new battery alone added £18,000 to a bill that was already substantial. Whether that battery was even necessary remains unclear. It may have been the right call. It may have been an expensive step that still didn't address the root cause. That uncertainty is part of what makes this build so uniquely difficult. What's clear is this: the hybrid system on modern supercars is not designed with independent repair in mind. When an airbag deploys and a battery locks itself out of service, the manufacturer holds every key needed to get it running again. For anyone rebuilding a crashed hybrid supercar outside of an official network, that's not just an inconvenience. It's a wall. The 296 will get there. But the road to it running is longer and more expensive than almost anyone anticipated.